Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm talking about some Pokemon TCG custom cards submitted by you in the Discord server, which you can check out in my channel's homepage. Links, I believe, at the top. I don't know. It's there on like places I've looked, but maybe if you're looking on some different device that I haven't used, it might be somewhere different. But regardless, you can find that. If you need help, though, you can just ask in the comments. But yeah, I'm actually changing things a tiny bit with that as well, where you can now, I'm just switch the channels and some things. The info's there. But regardless, these are some really cool custom cards. I think, I don't know, hopefully they're cool. I've seen some of them. I've like really just taken a glance at some of them, and I'm really excited to take a dive into them. These were submitted a little while ago, I think. But this one was not submitted in 2023. It does say 2023 at the bottom. I didn't, I don't usually look at the cards this closely, but it does say that. And I'll be taking a look at them, talking about the different ideas, things that I think are cool and are not cool and stuff like that. And also we will have voting for these cards at some point as well, which I'll just chuck in a big channel in the Discord server, and then you can vote on that. That'll be a little separate than the current one going on, and then also we'll play with them at some point. I got some stuff to work on with that, and I might live stream as well, talking about some cards. So we'll see. I'm not 100% sure if I'll do that, but that's something I'm interested in either this week or in a few weeks. We'll see. But regardless, let's start with this Charizard, and I don't believe there is previous evolution submitted with this. So Scorching Sun, and obviously, Charizard, Stage 2, Fire, 150 HP, which is low. It's not like absurdly low, but it's certainly on the lower end. I mean, actually, how low? That's quite low for a Stage 2 right now. I guess all the Charizards lately have been like Roblox Pokemon and like multi-prices and stuff. So the recent ones have been 170. It's low, but it's not like absurdly low. It's just like a little low. But whatever. Scorching Sun, as often as you like during your turn, you may attach a basic fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. This is like Baxcalibur or I don't know, like Blastoise. There are lots of Pokemon like it, but the one in Standard, I think the only one that's really like this is Baxcalibur. There are some other ones like Swim for the Finneon and Swim Freely, but this is cool. And there was the Ember, which is the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that's like this. Infernape and Fandango, this card saw play, and was a cool card, I guess. And Charizard is essentially the same thing, and that's cool. Fire is definitely a type that is a bit lacking in Standard right now. It's not. There isn't really a type that's irrelevant, but it's definitely it's in the lower half of types, but it's not as I was gonna say it's like not like fighting, grass, and metal kind of seem like the weakest types, but fire definitely lacks stuff. It's weird. Obviously, Charizard DX is really good, but it's not a fire type Pokemon. It is uses fire energy, and this doesn't really interact with Charizard DX much at all either. You can accelerate energies from the deck and from hand now, which is kind of interesting, but not that meaningful. Could be used with the other Charizard DX, and there's some cool stuff here, but it's not like it needs to interact with the Charizard DX either. And we have Reshiram. I believe these three were together. So Reshiram says it does 30 for each basic fire energy attached to this Pokemon. Obviously works with the Charizard, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And then you also have this Mount Ember or Stadium. And the Reshiram's nothing crazy. It's a pretty straightforward attacker, but it is still cool. There's some like in the game. There's like I don't really know, to be honest. There is I'm blanking. Armrouge EX, and also Fire. Like Armrouge is an interesting Fire Pokemon, and the Charizard doesn't really have much interaction that's super interesting with the Charizard and the Armrouge. The regular Armrouge don't have too much interaction. I don't think that's a massive problem, but it would be interesting to see cards that work really interestingly with that. We see like the Iron Moth is the exact opposite, where it's like it's completely redundant with the Armrouge. But regardless, Reshiram could be cool within that. It's kind of like a weaker the Cerealage EX, but obviously it's a basic single pricer. Then Mount Ember, when Mount Ember is in play, fire type Pokemon do 30 more damage when using attacks. That is the wording. I don't know if that wording actually is weird. Like, I don't know when you do damage not using attacks. Well, in Pocket you would, but like in regular Pokemon you don't. So yeah, I'm trying to think of similar stadiums. There's got to be similar stadiums. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Let me find it real quick. I mean, I can think of some, but just not like standard stadiums. There's some that do less or that like take less, but let's see. I guess there haven't been any super recently, unless I'm just like skipping over some that increase damage. But What are the okay, here we go. We got Misty's Surveillance. This was or the stadium's so bad, but it says do 4 more damage. Yeah, I don't think you need to specify with attacks because you can't do it without attacks, but obviously it doesn't really matter that much. And yeah, definitely could be solid for fire decks. Especially with Radiant Charizard hitting 250, jumping that up to 280 is pretty meaningful, and that's meaningful in different Pokemon. Yeah, like Serial GX now. And then, of course, it's useful in V stars, but with V stars, you could use Choice Belt. So it's less meaningful in V stars because there's an alternative that's pretty, easy. But this is a cool stadium. There could see it doing more damage increase. Ultimately, I mean, this one does more damage increase, but it's a really specific one. But definitely fire is the type that it could use some more support. Then we got Tentacool, and I think there's, an EX as well. So Tentacool EX, but Tentacool here says Cowardice. Once during a turn, you return one of your bench Pokemon to your hand. Wow, and you discard all the cards attached. That seems kind of insane. And then you keep the previous evolutions. I think this ability is really broken. Like, also, Ice Resist Fire. I guess that like kind of makes. I don't know much about the video games, but then you have this coin flip attack and poison paralysis on a heads, and it does 10 always as well. That's like a solid attack. I think this ability is super broken. I need to take a look at this Tentacruel EX, then I'll talk about the Tentacool a little more. But as long as this is has special energy attached to it, prevent all effects, including damage done to any of your Tentacool EX by your opponent's active Pokemon EX. That's cool. Is like a wall, like a Mimikyu EX, but better, right? Mimikyu EX can get it's not good against Roaring Moon EX, which is something that we do see. Well, I don't know. It's not like that bad against it, but Roaring Moon EX can hit through it, and that is something that we do see in the metagame right now because obviously, Roaring Moon EX isn't insane. Mimikyu, in my opinion, is a very, very good card. And Tentacruel EX is kind of interesting, walling off those decks, which are very good, and it has high damage output and HP. There's interesting talk about something like the Milotic EX, which ultimately feels kind of. I mean, it's not a bad card. I'm not going to say it's a bad card because it's good, but it's kind of lackluster. This definitely seems like a bit of a more interesting way to work with it. Special energies, and I talked about this on my podcast episode this week, where or are and will be and somewhat recently have been pretty mediocre to disappointing. Not that they're useless, but I feel like with more interesting special energies, this card would be a little cooler. But there certainly are some interesting ones. You got Mist Energy doesn't really do much here, but you do have like Jet Energy, and you do have Double Turbo, which is very good. We'll be rotating, but a very good special energy, which you would play with this. You could play Luminous, maybe. I don't know if that doesn't really make much sense. But then you have like Gift Energy, which is definitely one of my favorite special energies in the game right now, and there are some different ones, but this is a cool ability here. I do like this card, and if it has any special energy, it does 110. I don't love this attack. I should say 220 plus as well, but I don't love this attack. Like, I think the attack is fine, right? We see plenty of attacks like this, but you always want to have the special energy attached. And this is also it's quite strong with the special energy attached. I don't know if it's like super broken, but it is quite good with the special energy attached. It's very, very good, right? But I feel like I'd make like you're already incentivized. It obviously is synergy between the attack and the ability, but it's almost like too much. I feel like you want something that would almost encourage you to, because like you'd obviously play this with special energy, so I think you want something that could even this could be a card that anti synergy could be interesting with, which we sometimes see. I don't know, we might see one today. I don't know, but anti synergy is something where you're attacking your ability, kind of fight each other a little, and so it kind of keeps the Pokemon in check and it creates really interesting dynamics. And you could see an attack. I would actually almost like to see an attack discarding energy, not all of the energy, but some of the energy, and like maybe discarding. So you could discard a special energy attached to this Pokemon, it does more damage. I think the damage output's it was quite high. It's kind of expensive as well, and obviously you can't just Bax Caliber. If you just Bax Calibered, then you wouldn't be able to get the benefit of the special energy. But definitely an interesting card here, though. I think it could be. I know the attack's something we've seen before, and I think it could be even more interesting. But then the Tentacle is like super broken because it says you can return one of your reg Pokemon to your hand. You are just getting the attached cards, but it's like Scoop Up Net, or it's like, what's Scoop Up do? I forget exactly what it is. The old one says, yeah, you just choose one of your, All right, okay, this is kind of weird. So you return the basic to your hand. Anyway, so it's like you scoop up a card, return it to your hand. Discarding the attached cards isn't necessarily perfect, but it's like still very good. I think this card's super broken. You could return your Lumineon V to your hand, your Squawkabilly EX, and this stacks as well. Tentacle's like a little vulnerable, but it's not that bad. You heal up all the damage. You can reuse abilities. Like you'd use this with Knockdown, you'd use this um with anything. This would be like an instant include in every deck. I don't actually like it's very, very good. I think you probably should have to like discard the Tentacool or something to use this ability, or like have some big price to pay because this is super, super strong. I do like abilities like this, though. I do think scooping up cards into your hands is a really fun thing. Like I don't think Scoop Up Net is a super problematic card when it was in standard. In expanded, there are some cards where you can just like win the game turn one. But ignoring that, I think it's actually okay in expanded, even with Shaman EX with the hyper aggressive combos. That is kind of what the format's about. I think they are cool, and I think Tentacool is, cool. But obviously you need to. This is like super broken, right? It's you're just gonna be scooping up. I mean anything. You scoop up anything, and it's an ability. You can use one Tentacool and get insane value off of it. But it is a also it doesn't really have synergy with the EX. It doesn't necessarily have to, but um, I don't know. This would make some more sense on, I think, like just a pre-evolution, like I don't know. It doesn't actually matter that much, but I do like it. But it's obviously very good. Then we have Infernape EX and Monferno. Yep, and those are the only two in this line. Infernape EX. I think there was a regular art as well, but I'm just taking a look at the this art here, just the first one that was there. The Fighting Spirit says as long as this Pokemon is in play, it is fire and fighting. And we saw this ability on. That's not what I took a look. On Blaziken from, I believe, Darkness of Blaze. Come on, load. There we go. On Darkness of Blaze, yeah, and it's called Double Types the ability here. I actually like that's such a boring name. So yeah, Fighting Spirit here. This is cool. And then for Fighting Fire, Blazing Fist 190. If this Pokemon has at least one extra. So in Pokecard Maker, you can do the fire. Wait. Yeah, well, it also has the fire symbol. Yeah, so it should obviously have the fire and fighting symbol here. I don't know why it's unless I don't think there's a reason for it. If there is, then let me know. But obviously the symbol's here and it's not here, which is kind of weird. But attached one extra fire and fighting energy. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know, R is fire, because obviously they can't both be F. There's one letter abbreviation for all the types. They're like dragons N, fairies Y, I believe, and yeah, I mean that's it. There might be some others that are weird, but anyways, so if you have an extra of each energy attached, it does. This Pokemon can may use an attack it has twice. Okay, and if the first attack knocks out, okay, yeah, you can attack twice. That's really cool. Attacking twice is fun. We'll take a look. I think there are some more festival lead Pokemon, and this is really interesting with just attacking twice. I think that's a really fun idea, and it cannot use Relicanth, I believe, because of like the attack does twice thing with Blazing Fist. I mean, wait, I'm a little confused. Does this so you attack and then does that mean you attack two more times? I think it means you attack just twice, right? Like you can attack again. I think that's what it's saying. I'm a little confused by the wording. Like it's kind of like giving it it's like the same wording as the ability, but it's obviously not an ability. It's an attack on the attack. But this is cool. I think you just attack twice, like in total. You attack 190, then 190 again. I don't think you attack three times. You could interpret it in that way, but I think you should be attacking two times. Oh, and this is meant to pair with the Infernape from Temporal Forces? No, Twilight Masquerade. I don't know why I said Temporal Forces. I also knew it was Twilight Masquerade. But yeah, this is a really, really fun card. Infinite, I think this card's really cool. I mean, theme decks, things like that. But regardless, this is definitely fun. And then Monferno, search your discard for up to two basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. And firefighting. I personally probably wouldn't include fire and fighting as well. I might not even include a fighting on. Oh no, on the. Oh, that didn't load. Okay. So I might not even include a fighting like energy in the attack cost of a non-fighting Pokemon. Pokemon generally doesn't like to do that. So it could say if you have it could just be fire colorless, and then if you have a fire and fighting, it does like attacks again. Obviously that changes the cards some, but I think that would align more in the way they would print cards. Obviously these are custom cards, but we have Monferno, which does, snipe attack or like snipe and the active as well, and searches for energies, and nothing too crazy here, but certainly synergistic with the other things. The second attack's not super synergistic, but is somewhat synergistic. And the first attack's very synergistic, and it's pretty simple, but definitely cool. Previous evolution. We've got Auspicious Armor, the tool card here at the end of each turn. As long as this tool is attached to any armor rouge in play, at the end of your turn, attach a fire energy from your deck to that Pokemon. Shuffle your deck. This is interesting. I was recently looking at leftovers. Leftovers is like this. That it was a reprint. I actually didn't even realize that. So at the end of your turn, if it's attached to the active, you heal 20 from it. And this is, wait a second, look at this. End of each turn. I think this should say during. No, it doesn't need to say during Pokemon checkup. So this would be before Pokemon checkup, but after everything else. So then this I like this. I think this is fun. It goes both ways into both turns, so that's fun. And then we saw emergency. There are tools that do things, like the berry cards, and I don't know. They're cards that they're tools that do things, that have essentially activated abilities at certain times, and that's kind of cool. But I like this more because it activates more. This is cool. It does not work with Arm Rouge EX because it says just any Arm Rouge, but it could say if there was a card, I believe, a card with Arm Rouge in its name, it would work with Arm Rouge EX, and that would be the only thing like that. But I'm gonna almost, oh, excuse me, I'm gonna almost say this should be. Actually, I don't know how this works in the video, so I'm not gonna say anything. I do like this tool though. Then we have Scraggy and Scrafty. These are very simple Pokemon, but this one says, oh, okay. So this ability, I think it needs a little more. We need to say probably once during your turn, heal 60 from this Pokemon or 30 from this Pokemon. Pretty simple, straightforward Pokemon. And yeah, nothing too crazy here. Obviously, basic attacks, nothing crazy. Definitely could be cards that you could see in pocket or something like that. I believe these are supposed to be once per your turn. Then we got Pikachu from Festival Lead, and then it says, once during your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon with the Festival Lead ability. Also, for cropping, I think a few people have had issues with getting the full cards in. You should be able to copy them in Pokecard Maker. I believe these were made in PokecardMaker.net, especially because this is the default, the GSBI, the common thing. You'll probably see that on a few cards, and you can upload it. I'd recommend creating an account. You could create it through Discord, and you can upload your cards, and it'll save the cards. And there is a limit on the number of cards you have, which is 100 something cards. You just ask there's a Discord server for it, and I believe they just give you more cards. I've not done that, but I believe you can do that. And then you can copy them, or you can say oh, here's a link to it. I don't know if you can submit links in my Discord server, but then you can message me or whatever, and then you can say oh, here's my account, and then I can just post them in there. But regardless. Oh, and that lets you save them as well. I think you used to not be able to save cards in Pokecard Maker, and now you can, and that's super awesome. And before it was a bit of an issue, but now you can save them, and that makes it way better. Not that it was bad before, but it's even better. Festival Leader though, obviously meant to pair with the Festival Lead Pokemon, which attack twice. We looked at some custom ones last time, and this one I think kind of goes with them. Copycat though, for 2 lightning, choose one of your bench Pokemon with the Festival Lead ability, and choose one that Pokemon's attacks. I would use one of that Pokemon's attacks as this one. I think it should be the other way around. I don't remember. The attacks like this, the wording's always weird, even official cards. But obviously it just copies the attack, and then also count the ability of that Pokemon using this attack, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, it's just there to copy Festival Lead. Yeah, I think this is pretty obviously it's a little weird. The idea is pretty simple and straightforward, and I think the text makes sense. Obviously, this is a custom card. It's definitely a more feeling of a custom card, being more complicated. But I don't expect a Pokemon to do something with copying abilities really ever. I think that's really fun, but I don't think they'll do that. It's a little scary. For them, could be super broken, but this is cool. I don't remember. I know the Festival Lead attackers, but then there's also some custom ones that some other people submitted. So this could do a bunch of interesting things. And yeah, obviously the ability is nice as well. Though nothing. Well, no, it's pretty good. It's pretty good with certain combos with Thwacky and stuff. Then we got Eevee here with Festival Lead with the ability, and then Call for Help for 3 cardless. Discard a card that evolves from Eevee from your hand. Choose one of that Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. Okay, wow, that's a really cool. I think this is broken. Because well, okay. I don't think currently is broken. I think currently it's pretty good though. This is a really, really cool card. I like the three colorless. Like it's a payable attack, but not a free attack, and you probably want to use the stadium. And then the evolutions in standard. Yeah, I was thinking about Sylveon EX. So Sylveon EX, you wouldn't just like win. I don't believe you can discard their active. But you can use it twice. There's some weird things. Like there are some where you're not really allowed to. You're not really. It's kind of weird. Um, but yeah, so you need the energy as well. So if something discards the energy, you cannot use it multiple times. But this is so. And you could change attacks as. Oh no, never mind. You if you use this attack twice, you discard two different evolutions. Okay, I was thinking this through. Um, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I believe you're. Yeah, so you would discard two different evolutions, or they could be the same one, right? But two cards, two different cards. You are not going to be able to get them back in the middle of your attack, presumably, unless there's something super weird going on. But yeah, you discard like two different cards, or two of the same card that are evolutions, and this is really cool. I like this card a lot. There's a lot of interesting things going on here with the evolution EXs that might be like super broken because they all have attacks that are for three different types of energies, and they're really bad when they're paid for three different types of energies on an evolution, but on a basic for three colors, they're probably broken. So this might be a little broken. I don't really know, but this is really cool. Definitely a fun concept. And then we have Kogita, a supporter until the end of your next turn. If any of your Pokemon would be knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, that Pokemon is not knocked out and its remaining HP becomes 10, and you can't play this card if you play Kogita last turn. This is okay. Yeah, I was just reading through to make sure that like I don't know, there could be like some weird things out, but yeah, no, this looks like the wording is right. Obviously, we haven't seen stuff exactly like this. I don't think. I don't know. We've seen pretty similar cards. And this is cool and can't be spammed, which is probably good. Ultimately, I don't even. I guess it's probably good not being able to loop it. I imagine Pokemon would probably do something like that, so you couldn't do it every turn because then it could be broken. I don't know if it would actually be broken because you need to like heal. Oh wait, no, it doesn't say it needs a full HP. Um, I might almost say that it should need full HP, but not necessarily. This kind of means you're almost invincible. You could be knocked out by. There are different things you can get knocked out by. Right? Pikachu X is in standard. You kind of know the things. You got what is it called? You got the Slytherin. Yeah, But Kogia, this is definitely a fun supporter for a defensive supporter as well. We don't really see too many of those that are actually good, right? We see them from time to time. They're not rare, but they're usually bad, and this one definitely seems better and in cooler. We got Lycanroc EX. I think this. Oh, these are the same card. Yeah, so we got a few fighting EXs here. Lycanroc EX with Accelerock does 40 to 2 your opponent's Pokemon, and Deep Slash says does 20 more damage for each damage count on your opponent's active. I don't actually know if there's a rock buff in standard. I don't think there. Oh, there is. Oh, yeah, because there's a Lycanroc EX in standard. What am I saying? Wait, there's a bunch of Lycanrocs? Okay, well, oh, I know this Lycanroc too. I know this one. This one's still in standard. Okay, there's a lot of like cards. I don't know. I just forgot. Like Lycanroc, I don't know. I've just forgotten that. Like a lot of Gen 7 Pokemon haven't seen a ton of recently. But Lycanroc has apparently. I just forgot. But yeah, definitely a cool Pokemon. Nothing super crazy, but definitely something I could see Pokemon printing. Seems pretty balanced, but solid. Fighting is ultimately a weak type in standard right now, which is really unfortunate. Like there's some kind of cool fighting cards, and fighting is also it's one of the more interesting types just in general due to its weakness or being hitting different weaknesses and hitting resistances, which is it's really the only type that does that, right? The grass type hits resistance on metal, which metal isn't good, and grass isn't good, and then you're looking at weakness in fire. It's hit by fire for weakness, which also isn't good. And then it also hits darkness for weakness and fighting for weakness. As I said, fighting isn't that good. Darkness is okay, right? Like grass is only relevant weakness or resistance stuff is that it hits darkness for weakness. Hit Charizard DX for weakness, but even then it's not like super. I mean, it's meaningful, but it's definitely on a weird side of the weakness like weakness diagram stuff. But then you look at fighting. Fighting is hit by like grass or psychic. Psychic's definitely a decently meaningful type. It's not as meaningful as it sometimes is, but it generally is a pretty meaningful type. Grass, whatever. But then you also have the fact that you're hitting weakness on lightning Pokemon generally, and you're hitting weakness on most colorless Pokemon, but you're hitting resistance on some colorless Pokemon, the flying ones, which can be not colorless as well sometimes. The video game flying Pokemon, and then you also have the psychic Pokemon, a lot of those that you're hitting for resistance. So you have some really interesting things going on there with the weakness and resistance, and fighting is definitely a really interesting type for that. But we don't see that right now because fighting's not very good. But this is a cool card. Then we have Lucario EX with Protective Aura, which says when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve, you prevent all effects of the opponent's attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon until the end of your opponent's next turn. I believe we saw a Lucario like this as well. I think it just had like stance. No, there we go. Lucario with. Oh no, it did have Protective Aura. What am I thinking of? I don't know what other Lucario. Oh no, there's. Oh no, Precognitive Aura. Yeah, it had stance. So this is the one that was like pretty much the same thing. So you could put the ability stance on it. Protective Aura, was that not an ability? I feel like that was also. We were thinking of Precognitive Aura on the one with search for Pokemon. Or no, search for anything. If you had a certain Pokemon in play, but probably give it the ability stance. But this is definitely a really, it's something that we've seen in Lucarios before. And it's good, but it's not like super broken. I mean, it's super broken with that Toedscool, which would just make this like infinitely invincible. But regardless, the Metallic Bone Strike for 224. 2 fighting and a colorless. Says to this attack is also metal type. I think I should say attacks aren't really typed, so this should probably say until the end of your turn, this Pokemon is also metal type, in addition to like its other types or something like that. I don't know. I've seen other people use this phrasing as well in custom cards. It is 110 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This is kind of weird doing bench snipe. Oh, and then they shouldn't be color. They should be like, I think, the parentheses, not curly brackets. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it does. I feel like it's a little weird, like type changing plus bench snipe, because obviously type changing is mostly meaningful for weakness hitting, and then obviously if you're not hitting weakness, it doesn't really matter. I do actually want to take a look at that Toedscool again. I feel like it's somewhere around here. Maybe it's not. But regardless, yeah, this is definitely a cool, like, I like dual typing. I think a lot of people think dual typing is cool. Theoretically, right? Pokemon's done some dual typing stuff, and it's been really, really not interesting. So I hope they do something cool with it, like they did the Tera stuff, and the Tera stuff is kind of, it's kind of whatever. But or specifically like the type changing stuff, it's been to me a little disappointing. I think a lot of other people have found it somewhat disappointing or just have kind of like forgotten about it, which is kind of like the same thing. But yeah, Lucario EX with double typing is also cool. Then we have Koraidon EX here, which is just an ancient basic. Dino Cry once during your turn. Oh wait, no, never mind. This is not a new card. Okay, I did not look at all these cards. So this is just a regular card, with just like a different art. But then we have Great Tusk here, which is an ancient Pokemon. This is, I believe, submitted separately. And it says Primal Rules. Also, the text is small because it does a lot of it. But Primal Rules, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may put a Primal mark on one of your Pokemon in play. Okay, both or one Pokemon in play, not yours, but both yours and your opponent's. You can't have one Primal marker in play. Okay, so it's been a while seeing like marker cards. Marker cards are kind of weird, but they are kind of cool. I guess. I don't know. Let's take a look. Any Pokemon that have. Oh, I think it's any Pokemon. Oh, no, any Pokemon that have Primal marker on them. I think there's some missing. Wait, why? Any Pokemon that have the Primal marker on them have. I think any Pokemon that have no Primal marker have no. No, they have the Primal marker on them have no abilities. Okay. At the end of your opponent's turn, discard all Primal markers in play. This is kind of interesting. Obviously, there's one like kind of issue with this is that like, well, I don't know if it's an issue, but it's like complicated because obviously this is like a thing that's not really in the game, and so now you gotta go in and like do a bunch of like ruling stuff, but whatever, that's fine. not like super, not like necessarily an issue. Ancient Stop says if this Pokemon has a primal marker on it, until, oh wait, this might be a little weird. Okay, until the end of your next turn, discard each Pokemon and play in each player's hand and in each player's discard pile that has no abilities. That's insane. Until the end of your next turn. So this means that you can add another primal marker on next turn. This is weird. I'm trying to figure this out. This because obviously like this is a completely new thing. Which is it's cool to see complicated cards, and I do yeah, I've said this before. I think that custom cards should be messing around with really interesting like unique mechanics that also might be a little bit complicated. So you have so you attack with this, and if you have a primal marker on it, and then so this is weird. So if you put a primal marker on yourself with your ability, then it loses the ability that it had. And then I guess are the primal markers getting discarded because of the ability? And then the primal marker won't get discarded because your ability is not there anymore. So then it just stuck. And then it says until if it has a primal marker on it, until the end of your next turn, each Pokemon play each player's hand and each player's discard pile has no abilities. Oh, except for ancient Pokemon. Okay, so okay, so this is turning off abilities. Okay, it's an ability counter thing. I believe this was counter, yeah, to just counter some weird things. This is a little complicated, or it's very complicated. This is cool. Honestly, this could like I could spend like 10 more minutes on this card. This is really interesting and it's ancient. And this oh, and it enables Palafin as well. Yeah. So this is though it's not like super good with Palafin. It's just like good with Palafin, but you do need to attack to enable it, so it's not like super insane because it's not like an impossible card to play. But definitely a really interesting like we've seen marker cards before. I think they're markers and they were interesting and complicated and really weird. And Pokemon stopped doing them because they're complicated, but that is what makes them fun as well. We have Sceptile line here, and this has Sceptile EX is obviously the final one, and each basic grass energy attached to a grass Pokemon reduces that Pokemon's attack cost by grass or colorless, and this ability cannot stack. Okay, and so that's obviously that's like cool. It means that I don't know, it's kind of like Jungle Totem Venusaur, meaning grass produces two more, but it's only the first one on a Pokemon. I honestly think the ability is like, I'd probably change the name of the ability to like controlled growth because I feel like it's pretty controlled. But I do like this ability a lot as it's a more rebalanced version of some of the abilities we've seen in the past, which can get just absolutely insane when paired with certain other cards. If you play GLC, Venusaur plus Rillaboom is really good. I mean, it's two Pokemon in play that, with their abilities, you get 4 grass energy from your deck to your Pokemon, and where it's supposed to be, normally it's just like 2. It's adding a little bit of extra acceleration normally, but now it's just adding a ton, and it's kind of weird. It's not like Pokemon never meant for them to work that way, but definitely feels that would feel uncontrolled, and this would feel on the other hand controlled. But I do like this a ton. I think this ability is a really good way to work it. Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe you could say the first card provides an extra grass energy. Reducing the attack cost could have some weird effects. I guess like Whale Rain or something, but that doesn't really matter. Prevent slash then 120, no, 210. There we go. It does 20 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken, which is fair. I ultimately generally like cards with like higher multipliers and lower base damage. I don't know. It's obviously up to you. It ultimately is a card that feels less dynamic if you have lower multipliers. So, right, higher multiplier, like you look at something like Annihilate from Sword and Shield base set. I believe I might be looking at the wrong one, but 70, the one that's 70 for each prize your opponent's taken. It feels like something that is like a really big revenge attacker. Same thing with like Galarian Moltres when that was in standard, and there have been other cards like that. I'm sure. There's one in standard that's quite good that I'm pretty sure there's one in standard that's good that I'm blanking on. Maybe not, but higher multiplier could be more interesting. We do need to take a look at the other cards in this evolution line. Also, sorry if there's background noise. But then Sceptile here, points actives now, sleep and poison, pretty solid. Special conditions are kind of interesting. I need to make some videos, or at least one talking about them, because they're a weird mechanic. But certainly seeing more support could be cool. Right now they don't see very much, especially everything except for poison. Jagged Lance though for 100, and you may attach a basic grass to your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. If you do heal all energy, or no, heal all damage attached to that Pokemon, there are some things very similar to this as well. I think Zarude V. Zarude V is like not very good, but yeah, it's pretty similar, but pretty bad. But it was on a I mean, how bad was this card? It wasn't very. Oh, it wasn't ever, I think, playable in the City League tournaments that Limitless covers. But this is a cool Pokemon. I think it was like kind of cool, but also not really good enough. But now being paired with a really high HP Pokemon, and then being on a single prizer, I think it gives it a lot more potential. And then the attack cost is kind of expensive, even with Sceptile EX, and it doesn't stack. So it only increases basic. I might almost see this being like one grass or one colorless cheaper to make it more payable. It's not like super hard to pay, but I don't know. I don't know exactly the use. Like, I guess the idea is kind of to mix it in the middle. But let's take a look at the Grovyle and the Trico. So Trico, pretty simple card, but cool card as well. Has free retreat, has a fun attack here to set up with Friend Search. Then a Treeline Advantage. Also, Leaf Blast is not bad, but Treeline Advantage here, once during a turn, when you attach a basic grass energy from your hand to this Pokemon, you may switch it with your you may have your opponent switch out your opponent. No, you may switch out your opponent's active to the bench. There we go, like Iron Bundle or whatever, and they choose the new one. This is an okay ability. It's kind of weird. It's pretty solid, but it is the stage one, so you do need to be using the stage one. But this is a really, really cool card. Or not a really cool. It's a really, really cool line. I like the Sceptile EX a ton. Sceptile, the single prizer, is also cool with the high amounts of healing. Ultimately, it might be good to have this as an energy ramp attacker, where you accelerate energies with Sceptile to the Sceptile EX. So it does seem like that is part of the plan. But you also want to attack the Sceptile EX first, take some damage, switch it to the bench, and then, I guess the idea is you're retreating it, and then it won't have any energy on it, and then you need to reattach. So I guess that's kind of part of the idea. So then it doesn't need to, it's still getting value out of the consistent energy attachments because you're retreating it. I guess that's part of the idea. So that makes sense. But yeah, I really like this evolution line. Then we have next up Dudunsparce EX with 240 HP, which is low, but makes sense. And Burrowing Buddies, which says once during a turn, flip a coin. If heads, I think it should say once during a turn you may, because right now it says you have to use it, which is kind of weird. But once during a turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for a Dudunsparce or Dudunsparce EX and put it onto your bench. You can't use more than Burrowing Buddies ability each turn. And then Momentum Drill for 2 colors. It does 30 more damage for each card in your hand. That's cool. Obviously, synergizing with the Dudunsparce. There's 2 of them. There's Dudunsparce from the Temple of Forces, which says, yeah, okay, I wasn't sure exactly. It doesn't make you it doesn't need to be evolved for its ability to work, which I was assuming it wouldn't. There's this attacker, but it's pretty bad. But Dudunsparce, really cool Pokemon, a really fun Pokemon. I feel like it's a bit of a silly Pokemon as well. I think a lot of people agree as well. I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's a great card. I know some people think it's really good though. But I love this Dudunsparce EX. Ultimately, the attack, it's like Tinkaton, right? Tinkaton EX is a deck that's played with Dudunsparce, and ultimately, I think you should be able to use more than one Burrowing Buddies ability each turn. That's actually how I'd make it. Maybe that would be bad. It might be better that you can't. Oh, you can just use one. You can use each of your Dudunsparce EXs. Then you could get a bunch of then a bunch of Dudunsparces, draw a ton of cards, and just be this really silly deck. And I think that'd be really fun. This might be a bit more fair. I could definitely see, I imagine if Pokemon did something like this, they might make it kind of like that. I think its HP could be a little higher, maybe just like 10 or 20. It definitely feels quite low, right? I don't know a stage when the EX HP is super well, because I've said this in the past, they're bad. But especially without the newest set, they're quite bad. Essentially all of them were mediocre to bad. So that makes them more competitive, but not super great, any of them. But Dudunsparce EX, this is a really, really fun card. Then we get Tera Shard, which says when you play this card, or yeah, when you play this card, oh, it's an item. I thought it was a tool. Choose one of your non-Tera EX Pokemon in play or non-rule box Pokemon in play, and that Pokemon and any copy of it is now a Tera EX Pokemon. Okay. Oh, so just I feel like you could select. Wait, no, never mind. Oh, and now you choose the new typing of that Pokemon. And if it's okay, non-rule box Pokemon now worth 2 prize cards. This is interesting. This is a little complicated. I don't know. I feel like the wording could be. I don't know. I don't. I can't really think of too many cards like this, or really like any card like this. I guess it's kind of like the Silvally GX energy cards, like fire, no, memory cards. So you got like fighting memory, which says the Silvally GX, this card's attached to as a fighting Pokemon. Okay, that doesn't really help with the um the wording of this card, but this is really interesting. Like it's the Terastallization mechanic in the game, and I think this makes a lot of sense actually as the mechanic. So I do like Tera Shard a lot. I feel like type changing is cool, and this is a cool card. I like this. Allows you to hit for weakness. This is just an awesome ace spec. Quite strong, but good. Like it just allows you to essentially double damage into a lot of things. There are some dragon types that are good, but definitely a cool card. It does not change your weakness. That isn't that meaningful. Like, it might be kind of in the video game. I think it would. And I don't think it changes your type. I think it's like kind of opposite in the video game. But this is a really cool ace spec and one that I actually would really love to see in the game. This is the first card that I'm like, I'd love this. It's a little complicated. I think you need to kind of remember some stuff, and also legacy energy. I've been kind of critical of that. Not super critical, but it actually, it's a once per game effect, which is like so non-common. It's like a GX or V-Star power, but it's on just like one specific card to kind of keep track of. It's unlikely you'll forget it, but it's unlikely you'll forget that you GX attacked either. So, anyway, so I what I'm saying is like this card, it's a little like complicated. I think you could just say. It says choose one of your non-Tera in play or non-rule. So you could just say non-Tera as well, because those would be non-Tera EX. Okay, so it couldn't choose like Radiance. I feel like it's not an issue choosing Radiant Pokemon. So this is just EXs or non-rule box. Unless sometimes I do misread these cards. But yeah, so this is a card that you could just say non-Tera Pokemon, which would just be most cards. And then yes, this is now a Tera EX and give it up 2 prizes, which is cool. This might have some weird like consequences. Also, I might just make this a tool as well because now it's an item, and then it's like the copies of the Pokemon, which is a little weird. But I really love this card. Then we have Ceruledge here, which is a Lost Zone attacker, which is just 60, 10 more for each card. I think it should just say in the Lost Zone. I don't know, like it's obviously not like that different with inside, but for some reason it just like feels like really weird. Like not just a little weird, but it feels quite off. But obviously, 60, 10 more. Pretty simple and straightforward. I think it should have fighting resistance as well. I mean, you don't have to obviously put it on there. But yeah, the Ceruledge would normally have that. I guess every Darkness Weak Pokemon is fighting resistant unless there's some other type. I don't remember. I might be saying something wrong in that. But yeah, this would have fighting resistance and pretty solid attacker. Ultimately, obviously, like this isn't the card Pokemon would actually print because the Lost Zone is done for now, and it'll probably come back. But yeah, pretty solid Lost Zone deck. Nothing like, I mean, it's not super great. This is stage 1, but it's pretty simple and straightforward and solid. Then we have Greninja, another Lost Zone attacker. If there are 10 cards in the Lost Zone, we put 15 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way you like. If after this ability is used, put this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into the Lost Zone. That is cool. And then your attack's kind of like Radiant Greninja, which is fine. Seems fitting. Although honestly, I think it could just be as good as Radiant Greninja. I guess this is fine as well. This ability though is really good. It might be broken because like you just hit 10 in the Lost Zone, and then you're gonna Greninja, and then you're gonna also Sableye. And obviously Duststorm has been a card that people have not been so happy with, and it doesn't like knock itself out. But this is a cool card nonetheless. I don't think this is a crazy card for Pokemon to print. And is a card that Lost Zone's fun, Spread's fun. It can be annoying, but it is high. Or it is like hard to set up. I could almost see it being more than 10 cards in the Lost Zone to make this work. or some other, like you could say like 10 Pokemon. 10 Pokemon is a lot. That feels pretty steep. But just like, or I could even see it being less as well. I think honestly, like messing with different, essentially loss of breakpoints, because there are three, right? Wait, are there three? I think there's three. There's four, there's seven, and there's 10. And right now, there's the loss on breakpoints, and there's a few cards that refer to those breakpoints, but you could even mess around with that a little as well. We got Ninjask, and there's this whole line here as well. Ninjask says when you play this Pokemon to evolve, you search your deck for Shedinja and put it onto your bench, then shuffle, and you have an attack, pretty generic attack. We got Shedinja, we got an Inkata as well. You shuffle, you may recover a bunch of Pokemon once during your turn. Okay, and Shedinja says when you play this Pokemon, put this Pokemon only into the play with this Ninjask, and it says if this Pokemon is knocked out, your opponent can't take any prizes for it, and then for each Shedinja in play, put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, and you'll be like, this is cool. Might be a little annoying. You're going to use Inkata to recycle the Shedinjas, there we go. And then, I guess Ninjask, you need to... This is kind of awkward, because you need to, like, repeatedly get them. So I think this is kind of fair and balanced. Definitely fun as well. Shedinja's had... Shedinja, there we go. I keep struggling here. Shedinja is a really cool card, a really cool Pokemon that's had a lot of cool cards, and definitely would not mind seeing some more of those in the game. And Wobbuffet, a Lost Zone card. This art's fun. And then Lost Mirror says, and there's 20 for each of your Pokemon in the Lost Zone. There we go. A card that refers to Pokemon in the Lost Zone, but knowing your opponent's Pokemon, if this is in the active, your opponent uses a trainer, you may use it. Its effect 2. Wow. And if you use this ability, discard all cards attached to this Pokemon and put it into the Lost Zone. This is really interesting. Also really good that you don't put the other cards attached to the Lost Zone. I think that would make it much more fair. Or that does make it much more fair. But that is an awesome ability. This is so cool. Like it, and it's very thematic. This is really fun. Wobbuffet, like just copying stuff, kind of preventing your opponent from playing something super crazy. And then I'm trying to think if there's going to be anything like broken. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, what if they pennied and then you penny the Wobbuffet out of play? That'd be weird. And then does it still get lost zoned even though it's in like your hand now? And then would you discard the other cards attached? I don't know. Things could get a little complicated, but not like super crazy. This is definitely really, really fun. Interacting with stuff on your opponent's turn is cool. We got Electrode EX, Supercharged Orb. Once during a turn, you attach a basic lightning from your discard pile to this Pokemon. And then you have, which is, just pretty straightforward. Then Explosion, it knocks itself out. Oh, no, this Pokemon is, knocked out. And your opponent takes 1 less. Then it does 250, pretty strong. We've seen Explosion before, things like this. And it's, pretty simple, straightforward, cool card. Nothing too crazy, but it is cool. And Electrode, that's the same thing. Then we have Klefki says if you have 5 cards in the Lost Zone, I think, should this say 5 or more? Is it supposed to be exactly 5? Because that's what it is right now. Then your Pokemon have no retreat cost. Obviously, this is pretty good if it's 5 or more. If it's exactly 5, that's pretty niche. Not necessarily terrible, but it's not great, I feel like. But this Klefki is kind of cool. Obviously, very good with Comfies. I don't know if it's necessarily a card I'd want to see in the game, but it is a card that obviously adds value to the Lost Zone deck and gives some more options. And you can struggle. I would almost say this should be like 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. Then you have for retreat because Lost Zone can sputter out at the end of the game with switching as you burn them in the early game, and then you do want to be able to like not vulnerable to getting randomly boss trapped, and your opponent doesn't need to worry about whether that'll work or not because it won't because of Klefki. So I like some of the concepts here, though I think I would like right now if it's like super strong in the early game. Lost Zone's already a pretty scary deck. Then we have Smeargle, a Lost Zone card. Trade with the Zone says once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active, you may put a card from your hand to the Lost Zone, then draw a card. This seems quite good. Well, actually, no, it's kind of like Comfy, so it's pretty similar and fair, like in Power Level 2 Comfy. Sketch then says if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. Any damage done by the attack is reduced by 60. Okay, that's really interesting. I honestly think this is a little weak. Well, no, it's a solid attack. They're not an amazing attack, but solid with a decent ability. So this is a really cool card with, copy attacks I think's fun. And yeah, just some cool mechanics going on here. Also, Smeargle is a really fun card for Lost Zone because of the way that Lost Zone cards are, or that were, how they were like made visually with the, I don't know what this is, but it's kind of like, it's not really paint, but it kind of looks like that. And so I do like that. And yeah, this is definitely a really interesting like an ability and attack and both going on here. Then we have Musharna here with obviously stage 1, and it says lost energy duplicate. Once during a turn, you may search your deck for an energy card that is the same as an energy card in your Lost Zone, attach it to one of your Pokemon. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Obviously, Lost Zone has lots of different energy types, usually with Mirage Gate. This might be too good. You could just like play this in anything and then just like Lost Zone in energy using Closest Experiment or like Lost Vacuum, which isn't that hard to do. And then just be accelerating energies every turn from your deck. But honestly, that's not like super broken. It's kind of slightly more powerful than something like Flaffy. It's noticeably more powerful in the early game and a little bit weaker, though not that much weaker in the late game. But that's not insane. I mean, like Flaffy was like good in its time in standard, but it wasn't like a broken card by any means. So I think this Bouchon this is pretty cool. It has free retreat as well. I don't think it necessarily needs that. Probably if it won, especially with its ability to easily accelerate energy to itself. And the attack's pretty generic as well. But fitting for Musharna. Then we have Glare and Zapdos, the last card here with United Wings. United Wings is an ability that says once during your turn we put 3 damage. Or no, United Wings is an attack that says it does 20. For each Pokemon you just go with United Wings. Theoretically, printing lots of cards, the United Wings could just kind of break the game at some point, but whatever. I don't think it's actually super broken. Right now, there's 4, and so that's pretty good. And I don't think like putting a 5th one in, like now you're playing 20 Pokemon that aren't doing much of anything. So I think that's fine. It's a thing you're paying for. I think if you had a 30 times multiplier, it might be broken, but I don't know. Yeah, United Wings is kind of bad, and it would be cool to see it actually good at some point, and pushing a lot of decks in the meta, harder than they like right now. Single prizes are not completely irrelevant, but aren't super strong either. Something like Night March, when that was quite good. If we saw a deck like Night March that was similar and actually, the same meta presence as that, I would not mind that, at least for a few months. Then Speedy Flock, once during a turn, we put 3 damage cards on this Pokemon. If you do, you can search your deck for an item that discards other cards. Okay, and you can't use more than one Speedy Flock a turn. This is a little like, I don't know if it's subjective. I guess it's not super subjective. This is a cool ability that kind of refers to, I guess, like text within cards or things that the cards do. This is a fun card, though. The ability, I really like the ability. Obviously, attacks, it is what it is. It's something that we've, seen before. It's cool. But Zapdos, I was going to say reduce the retreat cost, because Glare and Zapdos tends to, we've only seen 2 cards. The V's had 1 retreat, the single prizes had free retreat. But I do like this Glare and Zapdos a bunch. United Wings is cool, but the ability is really nice and quite good as well. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously went on quite a while, but hope you enjoy. Consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, all the good stuff. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.